Hi guys, it's Eli, and I just wanted to come and talk with you a little bit today about some different herbal remedies that we can use during this kind of crazy pandemic season. Um, so, before I go into the herbs, I want to start off by saying I'm not a doctor. I don't want to be a doctor. I'm not trying to diagnose. I'm not trying to treat. I'm trying to empower. I want people to hear what I have to say and do their own research and decide whether this is something they would want to do on their own or not. Not all herbal remedies are good for all people. Um, and just because it works for 80% of the people doesn't mean that it's the right fit for you. So I'm going to say trust your intuition, trust your gut, and um, make your own decisions here. Do some good research, look at it, and see if some of the things that I'm recommending, if they are a good fit for you. So the first thing I want to talk about is fire cider. Fire cider is amazing stuff. It is an apple cider vinegar that's been infused with different herbs, very hot herbs, to help stoke the immune system. So this is a fire cider that I made for the season. You can see all the herbs still floating in it. I haven't strained it yet. And I use a different method. I use the long soak method, where we macerate the plants over time. But I'm going to talk to you today about how to make this quickly so that you can get it into your hands and start using it within a day or two. So the main ingredients of fire cider, the first thing you're going to want is a lot of apple cider vinegar. If it has the floaty stuff in the bottom, that's called the mother, and that's good stuff. That means it's going to be a nice, potent apple cider vinegar for you to use. If it doesn't have the floaty stuff in the bottom, don't worry about it. It was most likely just filtered. The mother in the apple cider vinegar continues the action of fermentation and just has a stronger pull. So it pulls more of the active constituents in the plants into the vinegar. Basically, it makes a more potent medicine. And these are people's medicine. This is the medicine of the people. We're not talking about medication, just FYI. So the ingredients in the fire cider, recipes vary greatly and drastically, and my recipe varies season to season. What I put in this one, what I put in all of the fire ciders that I make, I always have garlic, I always have horseradish, and I always have turmeric. The garlic is antimicrobial, antiviral, and when you take a garlic supplement, you kind of want it to stink if you're taking it for the immune system. Garlic is also really good for the cardiac system, for the heart and blood vessels. And there are supplements out there that are odorless garlic supplements. Those are more for heart health. They're not going to do anything for your immune system. Horseradish, just very, very spicy, very heated, and you can think of it as it creates a heat in the core of the body, and that heat resonates out and pushes the illness out, up to the surface of the skin and out of the body. Turmeric. Turmeric is my favorite anti-inflammatory herb. It is just lovely in this combination. It has a nice bit of spice itself, so it lends itself well to everything that's going on in there. And it also helps to alleviate some of the excess swelling that tends to happen when in various tissues when we do start getting kind of icky. So the other ingredients that I put in this particular batch of fire cider, I put some ginger, which I usually do. It's also very heating. Some garlic, onion, jalapenos, turmeric, rosemary, and then lemon juice with a little bit of lemon zest. All of these herbs together work in harmony to create an environment within the body that is very quick to respond to different illnesses. So we can take fire cider as a preventative. It's one of my favorites to take as a preventative. And as you can see by everything that's listed on here, it's not likely to interfere with any medications because these are things that you would eat normally, or that most people would eat. Well, some people would eat normally. I'm not a big horseradish person for flavor, but you know, it is a great herb. So the way that I would recommend to make the fire cider, just so you can get a hold of it a little more quickly, seal it up in, put all of the herbs into your jar and then seal it up. When you put the herbs in the jar, you're going to want it to look, they're going to be kind of chunky, and it'll look to be about 3/4 full, between half and 3/4 full in the jar. Pour apple cider vinegar over it and seal it in. Since I was letting this sit for a long time, I put a wax paper underneath the lid and the lid insert. I still don't know what to call those things. Because vinegar will cause metal to corrode, and I don't like that black gunky stuff on my jars, so I just put the wax paper down. You don't have to worry about that at this step. After you've sealed everything in the jar, put it in a crock pot and fill the crock pot with water. Turn the crock pot to either warm or low, basically its lowest setting, and then cover it up, leave it sitting for between 6 and 12 hours. There isn't really a super precise timing for this. You're just wanting to give time for the heat to invite all of those active components within the herbs, all of that spicy stuff, all of those alkaloids, all of that good stuff. It gives it time to get pulled into the cider or the apple cider vinegar. The heat facilitates this process more quickly. So then after 8 to 12 hours, you can just let it cool, sit overnight, strain it the next day, and then you have it ready to take. As a preventative, I recommend taking about a shot a day. If you start feeling under the weather, I recommend taking about a tablespoonful of it every 2 to 3 hours. The other thing, and what a lot of people won't tell you, this stuff is potent. It is strong. Yes, I'm saying take a shot of it. I don't mean actually pour it and take a shot. Take that shot of apple cider vinegar and pour it into a small glass of water, or if you're a big baby like me, a big glass of water. And then just chug that glass of water down. The other thing with apple cider vinegar and all of the heating herbs, garlic, the garlic, the onion, the jalapeno, all of that can be very, very spicy on the tummy. I do like to add the turmeric and the ginger just because they kind of balance the reaction in the tummy somewhat, but it doesn't go away completely. So do not take this on an empty stomach. You will regret it. It will be very, very acidy. It will feel icky. The other big thing with this is if it tastes absolutely positively disgusting and you just can't do it, change the temperature of your water. In other words, some people respond well to it being in really cold water. Some people like warmer water. It really just depends on my mood that day. When I do put it into warm water, though, I usually add a little squeeze of honey and a squeeze of lemon, which you can also do once you've strained the vinegar, just to soften the taste a little bit. You can add the honey right in. I don't do that very often. I usually add it in whenever I'm doing a warm dose, but do what you want. It's your fire cider. So the other herbs I wanted to touch base very quickly on. These are not going to be things that you find in your kitchen. So this would be something that you may order or find at a health food store. I recommend taking tinctures as opposed to taking pill form, but that's my preference. Do what works for you. Mullein is an herb that grows by the wayside, grows in abandoned spaces. You've probably seen it on the side of the road. It has really fuzzy leaves. It's super tall and has a spike of yellow flowers that are at the top. So mullein is a very strong lung herb. It helps to pull icky out of the lungs and help it get out of the body. It's also relaxing. It's nourishing and nutritive, so it doesn't just pull crap out. It also nourishes our tissues so that our tissues can work and function more effectively. I love mullein. It's my go-to for coughs, especially a dry cough or an unproductive cough. If you need something stronger, this is the point where you would start moving into working with an herbalist or someone who's really skilled with herbs. You could use a combination. I found a traditional combination of herbs: Lobelia, black cohosh, mullein, and or ginger. So these would be adjusted depending upon your constitution. But if you're looking for just a straight baseline and you don't really understand what I'm saying when I say based upon your constitution, so the baseline would be about 50% Lobelia and the other 3 in equal parts. So I recommend with a tincture, and the combination itself, Lobelia is very, very strong to the degree where if you take too much of it, it is an emetic. It will make you throw up, or it'll also act as a laxative. But that's only if you take too strong of a dose, which again is why you want to be working with an herbalist who will be able to help you figure out what the dose is so you don't have that reaction, because trust me, it's not pleasant. Black cohosh works on the hormonal pathways within the body. It's being more of a supportive herb in this context. This is a traditional combination. In all honesty, I would probably leave black cohosh out just because I've seen it work not well with a lot of medications and work not well with a lot of people's constitutions. That would be my preference, but there are other people who have no issues with black cohosh. Most people actually have no issues with black cohosh. It's my personal thing. The mullein we just talked about, it's the lungs of the earth, and so between the mullein and the lobelia, it's going to help to work to expectorate that gunk and that mucus. Also, that combination is going to help soften any of the mucus that's been hardened. So if you if you're feeling, for lack of a better word, crunchy when you cough, mullein will help. But mullein and lobelia together are going to be extra super strong. Adding ginger in just adds a heating element because these two herbs tend to be, mullein tends to be a little more towards the neutral cool side. Ginger's going to warm it up so that it moves more quickly through the body and acts more effectively and more quickly. The very last herb that I wanted to talk about is an herb that isn't used very often because it is a little bit dangerous. It's called poke root. Now, I use poke root all the time, and I know you're probably sitting there with a raised eyebrow like, you won't use black cohosh, but you'll use poke root. And poke root, most people know poke root as the weed that grows. It grows pretty tall, and it produces those dark berries that you can crush and kind of use as a purple paint. And your parents would have told you not to eat those berries because they're poisonous. They're not really, but they will make you very sick if you eat too many. So poke root is a very, very strong lymphatic. Poke root is used to help move lymph around the body, and our lymph is our immune system. So poke root is really good at cleansing our body. It helps moving things out. It is also a very strong antimicrobial, we'll say. So it works against viruses, it works against bacterias, and it works by helping the body to respond to make more white blood cells. The thing with poke root is, like lobelia, if you take too much, it's a very strong emetic. If I ever recommend working with poke root for a person, which has happened a couple times, but if I ever recommend, I advise the person to begin with a single dose of 3 to 4 drops each day. That's it. This is a lovely preventative. The reason that I'm bringing it up is that for those of us who do have to go out and work with the public, if you do feel your immune system is a little under the weather, that you're not having the immune response that you would typically have, if you're already experiencing some lethargy, then poke root might be good, might be a good fit for you. And the Latin name is Phytolacca, Phytolacca, I believe. Phytolacca. I think that's how you spell it. I'm really bad at spelling out loud. But poke root tinctures, as a preventative, the 3 to 4 drops a day, you can build yourself up to, at most, I would say 7 drops a day, unless you're feeling, unless you've caught something and you're starting to feel the effects of it. So if that's the case, then you don't take a bigger dose. You take the dose that you would normally take, but instead of taking it once a day, you take it 2 to 3 times a day. And you spread the doses out as far as you can. So one when you wake, one in the middle of being awake, and then one right before you go to bed. There are a lot of contraindications around poke root. So if you're on another medication, you're probably not going to even want to think about this. But if you are a paranoid germaphobe like I am, then you may feel better just having it on hand. I tend to use poke root when I'm going to be flying because I don't like the idea of being trapped in a big metal can with people's recycled air flowing all around me. It's just icky to me. So I take poke root to make sure that my immune system has a little extra jump just in case I'm being exposed to any icky nasties. So that brings me to the very last point I want to make with this video. While I'm in no way negating the physical damage possible from the coronavirus, I'm also very much asking you to make sure that your mental health and emotional well-being are being looked for as well. There is an inherent sense of isolation and separation that's going on now, and a lot of people are kind of freaking out over it. And it's new territory. Most of us have not been here before. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone. Don't be afraid to shoot a message out to somebody. And just as much for them as for you. Check in with your people. Check in with your loved ones. And also, using gentle, loving, nourishing herbs to help balance the mood can be quite effective during this time too. If you're an iced tea drinker, I'm going to recommend that you grab some linden flower. Linden is also sometimes called thyme. Or not time, lime. I cannot believe I said that. Linden is also called lime trees, but it is Tilia, Tilia. And linden is a lovely herb for helping to just calm, cool, relax, help us focus. I like mixing Tilia or linden with chamomile. And I'm not one of these people that are the huge, oh yeah, drink your tea type of people, because a lot of times the teas aren't appealing. But linden is a very light taste, especially mixed with chamomile. It creates a really tasty tea. And after I make an iced tea with it, I'll throw some cucumber in there too. It's just lovely stuff. Linden helps to keep our focus balanced, to keep our emotions from going up and over the edge. and is overall just one of my favorite herbs. It's very supportive of the health. It's very nourishing. And again, this is something that is typically used more in Europe than here, but it is typically used as just an herbal tea, as in something that tastes good, that people just like the taste of. So linden is definitely worth checking out. That has been my favorite quarantine herb thus far. So so today we talked about fire cider. We talked about mullein, whose Latin name is verbascum. We talked about lobelia, and we talked about the lobelia combination with black cohosh, mullein, and ginger. And how, if that is something that you think might work well for you, that you're going to want to reach out to a qualified herbalist, somebody who knows herbs, and do a good deal of research on that one yourself. The last thing that we talked about to address the physical stuff with the virus is poke root, which again, you're going to want to, if that sounds like it might be the right fit for you, after researching it, reach out to a qualified herbalist just to make sure that you're going to be doing it safely. And lastly, taking care of our mental and emotional well-being is very important during this time. So nourishing ourselves with things like chamomile tea and linden tea is going to help kind of keep our baseline from being quite so over the top. So thank you so much for listening to me as I shared some of my favorite herbal things for what we have going on right now. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you do have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate. Message me on Facebook, Eli Stewart, or Vessels of Insight. You can shoot me an email, psychicspiritart@gmail.com or vesselsofinsight@gmail.com. Or if you find my number, don't be afraid to give me a call or a text. So thank you guys so much, and I hope you are having as wonderful of a quarantine as you can. Brightest blessings, guys.